Hey, what's going on, guys? Poison Rain here, and welcome to another video. This video is the part 3 of Stickystone Basics. In the last video, we covered components. In the first video, we covered the blocks and their basic properties. Both of those will be linked up in the corner. This here is flying machines. First, I'm going to go over what each category is. There are 4 of them here, and I'll go over each one individually after that. So this first category is a one-way flyer. These are obviously, they move in one direction and cannot be turned around, and so they will continuously move that way, and I cannot bring them back without breaking them and then rebuilding them here. The next section is multi-state two-way flyers. Usually it means that you have to push things around. Actually, that's what it means. You have to push the certain parts of the flyers around. For example, this is my two-way flyer that I made. The first tutorial video that I made was an awful tutorial, and hopefully in this video I can actually help people who are still confused with it understand it better. And next up is the stateless two-way flyers, meaning they will fly in both directions without any modifications or pistons pushing things around, which are great. And next up is the one block flyers, meaning they will move forward one block and they won't move forward anymore after that until you activate them again. So we're going to start off with the one-way flyers. The first one here is the smallest you can get. It is a 6-block flying machine with a pulling extension and a pushing extension working together to make a flying machine. Let's grab a flint and steel. Send it off. This next one is a hard-powered flying machine. It moves faster, but it's inconsistent. It runs off of redstone blocks, force powering 2 regular pistons. And if things are good, you get a 4 redstone tick per block moved, which means it is 2.5 blocks per second. But yeah, this one here, it sometimes can fire a little slower than that 2.5 blocks per second. As you can see, there were faster pulses in it that made it move faster than the 6 redstone ticks that these here and this here runs off of. This next one is the observerless flying machine. It is a very basic flying machine. It's the smallest that I could make that does not utilize observers. This is the flat version. Of course, you could tuck this underneath and make it too wide, or turn it sideways and make it 1. Once I remove this obsidian, it'll start flying until it hits that obsidian. And how it works is this redstone block here powers this sticky piston here and this piston here. This piston will then push this forward, retracting the sticky piston, which will then power this piston here to push this section forward, which will push these two back into this redstone block. Now next up are the two-way flyers. I'm going to go over that one last because the return station is a pain in the butt to set up. And it's over, I have one over there. But this here is the one that I showed in the last Stickystone Basics video. It's a terracotta flyer. Basically, you push this back end here, back and forth this section here back and forth to change its direction. So I will be but firing this part off here by updating the observer with a flint and steel. in which I will then push this over. And when I push it over, it will immediately start going back. So I'll explain how this thing works. So as in part 1, I explained glazed terracotta is non-stickable. So the sticky pistons here cannot retract them, making them good for turning sticky pistons into regular pistons. So it's just this piston here is aligned with this glazed terracotta, meaning it will push, and then this one will pull. And then when I push it over, this sticky piston will be aligned with this glazed terracotta, meaning that this sticky piston here will push, and since this sticky piston here will be lined up with this slime, it will pull. So let me activate this and it'll automatically go. Oopsies. Forgot to retract in time. And the reason for them to be separated out when it stops is to make sure that this sticky piston here doesn't get pulled with this slime block when this gets pushed over. Next up we have the floyer. It's a very unique way of going about this. This piston here will fire, pushing this sticky piston out, which will push the rest of the machine, which will then activate this sticky piston to extend and then retract this section back here. And then it'll push again, and that will be that. And then for its transitions, it pushes these two sticky pistons back and forth, leaving everything else stationary. That way, when it has been pushed over, this sticky piston is now the one being powered, and this piston is now pushing this section here. So it's going to go this way. But I'll activate it now, it'll go out that way, and then I'll flip it around. So push it over, have to keep it powered until it leaves, and retract. Next up is my flyer. Basically, how it works is it's two one-way flying machines stuck right next to each other. So how this thing works is it's a one-way flying machine. This will push it, this will pull. And then when it reaches the other side, it'll get pushed over, which will pull this block, this block, this block, and that block over, making it a one-way flying machine that goes this way, because this will push and that will pull. So let me send it off. Usually when you push it on this side, it'll automatically go. I'll show that in a bit once it reaches the other side. Then push it over. And the reason why you need a immovable block here is, or put it over push limit on this block, is because if it does fire off, this sticky piston will extend and then retract, and this piston down here could get left behind. So you must have the obsidian there, and I miscalculated again. Oof. But this side does need to be set off manually, like so. And then when I push it over this time, it will automatically go. Now this last one here is the observerless two-way flying machine. I designed it myself. It is literally two one-ways stacked on top of each other. If you notice a pattern, I really like to just stack two one-ways on top of each other. Someone in my comments stacked two of my two-ways to make a four-way. Freaking legend there. But yeah, it's currently in the state to go out that way. But in order for me to demonstrate it, going in two directions, I will have to go somewhere else, which is that direction. So the return stations here are going to be incredibly complex. It's going to require a double piston extender, where I went for a observerless return station, which means I have to do a second layer here. But first we need to extend the redstone block, then the piston, then retract the redstone block, then retract the piston. Then I have to retract that redstone block and then retract the piston. That way it does not get pulled along with the machine. And then I have to push this redstone block down here by doing that. And then all I have to do now is send it off by activating this. And then to send it back, you just have to do the opposite order. Push that one up. Then we need to retract that piston there. Retract this. Oh, that was still extended, lol. But then next we're going to want to push this redstone block up here. And then we will retract piston and then extend this, and it'll go in the other direction. This one's a whole lot more useless than the others, and it's more of just there to be a slight flex. That we too in Bedrock have observerless flying machines. We do not need observers. And I believe that a observerless quarry is possible. Just incredibly complex. And the one on SciCraft did not go full flying machine. So I think that's possible. The next one here that I'm going to show off is the stateless flying machines. Of course, I explained what they are earlier. They have no, they don't have to be pushed around in order to change directions. So this first one here is a hex flyer. Anyways, how it works is this sticky piston here is triggered by this observer, which will extend this observer here, fire this sticky piston off, which will activate both this observer and this observer. Then this sticky piston here will extend, and this sticky piston here will extend, firing this observer again into the sticky piston, keeping it out for longer. Then it will retract, keeping it out for even longer. And then when it retracts, this side will do the exact same thing. Anyways, send it off. But it's less reliable for extensions and such, so making large machines off of this is not quite viable. There's a very niche way of making extensions off this that are 100% reliable. I'm not going to go quite into detail on them because that is for a advanced Stickystone video. But anyways, if I were to fire this observer off next, it will then launch the flying machine the other way. Next one here is the Zundat Flyer. It is a very versatile machine. You must build it like this, where all of these are lined up like so. You cannot have the observer behind this sticky piston, as this observer, if it's behind the sticky piston facing that way, it has to be facing into this piston here, which means if it crosses a chunk border, this machine will break. So currently, it should be built like this in 1.16. According to what Mojang has said, I don't believe them for a second, but this flying machine can be built however you want to because observers are no longer affected by chunk borders. I don't believe that for this second, but doesn't mean I'm not hopeful. But as for now, until 1.16, build these things exactly like this, or I'll show you another way in a second. But yeah, if I fire this off that way, So when it gets moved forward, both of these observers fire, which will then extend this sticky piston here, and it will retract it, and on its retract, this here will push it forward, which will then activate these both again, and this piston here will fire forward, and this sticky piston here will fire forward, and upon retraction, this piston here will make this observer double pulse, making this sticky piston stay out for longer, meaning this sticky piston here can retract without pulling this section back, meaning this sticky piston here can then pull this to it, which will then activate this to fire again. Anyways, I'll send it off the other way. Double pulse, as you can see. Next up is the one block engines. This here is a pulling one block engine, meaning that the section that you were to add blocks onto would be this back section with the sticky piston. And this one here is a pushing one, where you would push blocks out with a piston. Pushing one is very simple. It's based off a trap chest. You open the trap chest, it powers this piston, pushing the structure forward, whatever machine it may be, and it'll activate the sticky piston, which will then retract this section here, which will then activate and push the machine forward. So see, push the slime block here, the sticky piston is extended back here, and then when I close it, it will retract and then push it forward. This next one here is a pulling one. You can change it out, or you can have it where it pulls a structure rather than pushing. I find this one more versatile because you can force it to not push this section here until later on, making it idiot proof, i.e. it cannot be broken unless you really are trying to break it and have broken some blocks off of it. But in this case it is not, because of, actually technically it is because it doesn't have a machine attached to it. But yeah, this here, the fence gate will, when you open it, will trigger this observer, which will then activate this piston here and this sticky piston here. The piston will push this structure forward, and the sticky piston will extend and retract this section, which will then push this observer here, which will activate this observer here, and then push this piston, or cause this piston to push this section to line back up with this here. And then this sticky piston will extend and retract and pull whatever structure is attached to it. So this one here is an observerless one. It's very simple. It's the exact same premise as this one over here. Open up the trap chest. The piston down here pushes the structure forward. The sticky piston back here extends, and it will retract. And this piston here will get powered by the redstone block, pushing it forward, and it will be nice and dandy and do whatever you need it to do. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, found it helpful, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel and you want to keep up with this kind of stuff, I might start getting into the advanced section of Stickystone, let you guys understand how to do things better with your flying machines. But yeah, if you want to keep up, or if you like that kind of stuff, or if you like farms or redstone, then consider subscribing. If you want to keep up with this kind of stuff, then hit the bell icon. And yeah, if you have any questions about this, join the Discord. Link is in the description. We also just chat there about technical Minecraft. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have a nice day.